morning and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. I hope you guys are well. I'm doing fine, starting to feel a lot more human, which is a good thing, I think. Okay, so a couple of days ago I put a post up on Instagram of my Nasomatto collection, and I sort of post about cleaning the bottles, which I do from time to time. And it generated quite a lot of interest because I have the entire collection, every single one, even the discontinued ones. So I suddenly thought, let's do a little video on that. A couple of people asked me to do a video on Nuda, which is here, and I will get around to doing it. But I thought it would be an interesting opportunity, because I don't think anyone else has done this on YouTube, to have a look at every single Nasomatto. Obviously, they're the brainchild of my favourite perfumer, Alessandro Gualtieri. I'm probably more known for my love of Autoparesi, but Nasomatto for me is kind of where it started. I discovered Nasomatto before I had found Autoparesi, and I'd started collecting them because I love the fragrances. Nasomatto in Italian means crazy nose. Alessandro is known as the nose, but he's also known as crazy nose, so it made sense. Now, they are all intriguing fragrances. What I love about Gualtieri's work is there's always a DNA in the perfumes, and you can always track them back to him. At the same time as the Nasomatto collection, or the Nasomatto project, was being put together, he had also, with his then wife, released perfumes under a house called Maria Lux. I have 3 of those, and there is a video on the channel about the 3 Maria Lux perfumes that I own. I still need 2 more to complete the collection, but I will try and grab them. Unfortunately, the Maria Lux perfumes are discontinued, and they're really, really hard to find, so I need to get 2 more, and then that's that completed. But I have, over a period of time, worked very hard to collect all of the Nasomattos. Obviously there's a few now that are discontinued, and a couple of them are really, really hard to get hold of. So we will have a brief look at all of them, and eventually there'll be a full review of every single one. So I suppose if we start with this one, which is the most recent, and that's Sadonaso. This is the phallic cap. Does feel a bit weird touching it. This was released for a limited period of time. The cap now is just a normal black tubular Nasomatto cap. Now, there is a full review of this one, so if you want to know more about Sadonaso, then please go through the videos. It's fairly recently. I think it was about 6 months ago we put the review of this one up. So it is out there, but this is beautiful. This is like a honey coffee, very sexy, very alluring fragrance. Obviously, all the controversy around Sadonaso hinges on the cap. The perfume itself is not, it's slightly, there's a little hint of something animalic from the honey, but that's about it. There's nothing to worry about, you know, and the dry down on this is absolutely phenomenal. So keep your eyes peeled for Sadonaso. Beautiful fragrance, and don't be put off by the cap. Okay, next up, my wife's favourite and my favourite tuberose fragrance ever. Now, we've got through between us quite a few bottles of this over the years. So this is my wife's daily driver. This is her all-time favourite fragrance. She wears it all the time, and as such, I think she's got through 3 or 4 bottles of it. This is mine, and I hide it because I don't want her grabbing it, because I like to try and keep the, you know, the OCD in me likes to try and keep the collection complete. But this is all about tuberose, and this is just a beautiful white floral extravaganza with tuberose leading the charge. There's a little jasmine as well, but it is just an absolutely stunning fragrance. While I'm at it, all the caps are different. They're all unique, and every single one seems to be a little bit different. So some of them are darker, some of them are lighter, but this is what Narcotic V it looks like. It is a feminine fragrance. I wear it because I really like tuberose. It's one of those florals that I can't get enough of. So it is one that I wear, but I think traditionally this would definitely be classed as a feminine perfume. So if you don't mind smelling of the most gorgeous white in-your-face tuberose, you'll enjoy this one. And the opening on this is as loud as it gets. It's amazing. It's a proper room filler. So be aware of that. Yeah, it's not shy, retiring tuberose. It's a potent one. Okay. So next up, we'll go for Blamage. Now, Blamage means mistake, apparently, in German. And that's the history of this fragrance, because Gualtieri had very astutely noticed that some of the most famous fragrances in the world, in the history of perfumery, say, for example, Chanel No. 5, made by Ernest Beau for Chanel, Chanel number 5 was a mistake. When Ernest Beau wrote the formula for the perfume, his lab assistant accidentally put far too many aldehydes in there compared to what he actually wanted. And that led to, you know, probably the most famous perfume of all time being so heavy in aldehydes and so popular. So Gaultieri wanted to create a fragrance with a mistake, shall we say, so randomly selecting materials and things like that. And if you haven't watched the Nose Searching for Blamage documentary, then please do, because it's really, really good and it'll give you a very good insight into Gaultieri. But Blamage for me is this leathery, birchy, woodsy, sweet, fruity affair. It's quite phenomenal. It's an absolutely stunning perfume and it's one of my favourites. I love this one. This has really got a very close place in my heart. But there's the cap. Every cap is different. They've all got this birch style top, but some have got lumps sticking out, some haven't. They're all, you know, completely different. They're all handmade and they're all very, very beautiful. It's probably the most unique looking fragrance from Nasomatto, apart from obviously Sadonaso with its phallic cap. But this is an absolute stunner. Totally unisex, probably leans a little more feminine, but it's one I will never be without. I absolutely adore this one. Okay, so that's a few down. Right, next up, we're going to take a look at Duro. Now, Duro is a fragrance that I don't wear as much as the others, and a couple of people have pointed it out that when I post photos on Instagram of Nasomatto, it's very rarely Duro. There's a reason for that. Now, I fell out of love with Duro through no fault of its own. This isn't my first bottle of it, by the way. So when I first got Duro, I was so impressed with it because it's a woodsy, leathery, spicy, kind of musky, animalic, little animalic, masculine fragrance. I've referred to this many times as sort of like the ultimate masculine fragrance, and it really is. It's beautiful. But I started wearing it all the time. It was like a daily driver. This is probably pre-Instagram, actually. So I was wearing it constantly. And then one night I went out. And when I don't know if you're the same, but sometimes when I wear a perfume all the time, I kind of lose it a bit. So I started to get a bit concerned about the potency of the fragrance. I really didn't have any cause for concern because it lasted really, really well. But I went out to a works do, and we were going out straight from work. So I wore it to work and I took a decant with me, and this is where it all starts to go wrong. So we'd finished work and we'd met in the pub and I'd reapplied it, and as I was getting more and more drunk, a couple of people had complimented me on my fragrance. So I said, oh, I've got some here, do you want to try it? And then they were wearing it, and then I kept reapplying it, and then I got absolutely hammered. I think there was whiskey involved as well. Everybody in the pub was wearing this perfume by the end of the night. I was doused in it and I came home reeking of it because I put so much on. And then when I woke up in the morning, I had the most appalling hangover because I hadn't eaten. You know, it was just stupidity on my part. And all I could smell was Duro and felt this sick feeling. So I couldn't go near it for a while after that. And it's taken me a while to get back into Duro. And I still maintain this is the Burt Reynolds of the perfume world. This is the most masculine fragrance I own. It's gorgeous stuff and it's absolutely wonderful. So if you're looking for a real statement-making masculine perfume, Duro will definitely be the one for you. And don't worry about performance. This lasts really, really well. So yeah, highly recommended. Just don't get hammered and over-apply it. Now, talking about getting hammered, I suppose that leads us on very nicely to Baraonda. This is beautiful. This is my wife's favourite Nasomatto on me. It's a lovely whiskey and ambrette, a little bit of rose perhaps, but it's sweet. It's very, very boozy. And because of that, this is the only fragrance I think I own that I don't actually wear to work, because I've mentioned in other videos that I work in an environment where you're not allowed to have alcohol in your system. And the idea of going in reeking of whiskey is not a good thing. If you're wearing this for a posh night out, it's superb. That booziness, the woods in there, it all comes together and hums beautifully. The harmony in all of these fragrances is fantastic, but I think Baraonda just has that certain bit of magic, and it's very rare that I find a boozy fragrance that I love as much as this one. And I think for me, that ambrette, that muskmallow, that just adds that sweetness to it, it lifts the fragrance perfectly, and I cannot get enough of this. I could easily wear this every Friday when I went out. You know, it's really difficult for me not to constantly wear it all the time. Highly, highly recommended. Okay, next up, we're going to look at Fantomas. Now, Fantomas is a fairly recent one. You can see how much I've hammered of this bottle. Now, like with the Autoparesis and the Nasomattos, I get through a lot of them, so I've had quite a lot of bottles of it. But I really wanted to just, first of all, there is a full review of it, so please look at that. But it's one of the most misunderstood fragrances. A lot of people were thinking it's weak. It's not. This is a stupidly potent fragrance. It's smoky, it's fruity, it's got so much going on. It's really, really space age. It's very, very modern, and it's incredibly airy. And I think whenever you have a very strong, airy perfume, people can lose it. And then, you know, there's often talk of people saying, oh, I can smell it, and then it reappears and disappears and reappears. Well, it might reappear to your nose, but it doesn't reappear to everybody else's nose. That massive sillage that this fragrance has is always going to be there. It's just that you are not picking it up all the time. Everybody around you is. So this is hugely potent, ultra modern, rather beautiful fragrance. Now there are two versions of this. So this is the original one with this kind of cap, and this is the later version of it with this kind of cap. The fragrances are exactly the same. There's no reformulation, there's no change or anything like that, but the caps are different. So this one, let me take the caps off so you can see. So this one's very light. It has the wood and it has this kind of like metallic looking material. Whereas Alessandro, when he released it, he wasn't actually that happy with the cap, so he came up with this, which is the same thing, but this is metal, and it's much, much heavier. So if you, for example, are familiar with the old style cap, and then when you replace it, you get this different one, don't think there's anything wrong with the fragrance. It's not fake. They have actually changed the look of them. So there you have it. The oils, I have all the oils as well. But the oils are incredibly cute. The Fantomas doesn't have a square cap, okay? It has a tubular cap on the oil front. I like to wear the oils with the fragrance. I don't think it really makes much difference. I just like the process of dealing with it because these punchy little oils are fantastic. So I can highly recommend all of them. But yeah, so if you get a different looking Fantomas, it just means one's the first generation of it and one's the second generation of bottle. The fragrances are exactly the same and stupidly beautiful. Love this one. In fact, this is my most worn Nasomatto. Not a lot of people know that. All right, moving on. Silver Musk. Now, obviously, I love Gualtieri's work, and Gualtieri is known for his musk, so this was always going to be a surefire hit for me. And Silver Musk is one of my favourite hot weather fragrances. It's just a clean, powdery musk. There's a ton of stuff going on in there, but overall, it's just got this like fresh mountain air kind of vibe to it. So if I wear this to work on a hot day, I feel like a pressed linen shirt when I come out of the house in the morning, and I still feel kind of fresh and lovely when I come home. It can be worn any time of year. It's really good in the cold, but I love it on a hot day. I like to, you know, when you're dealing with the public, it's always nice to be aware that you smell good and you don't want to be like sweaty or smell BO or anything like that. And there's a fresh, clean crispness to this one that I absolutely adore. So Silver Musk, highly recommended. Not a Nasomatto that gets the props that it deserves, I think. It is, on the surface, quite a simplistic perfume, but you know, like the swan on the water, underneath that top note, underneath the surface, there's so much going on. There's lots of materials that have been used to make this clean, fresh, powdery musk. And it's not like an Egyptian musk. It's not like an Arabic musk fragrance. It's completely different. Smells ultra modern, ultra cool, and ultra crisp. Highly, highly recommended. Okay, next up we have Nasomatto Pardon, my third or fourth bottle, I'm not quite sure. This to me is the magic of Gualtieri. Pardon is a dreamy fragrance. It has a slight hint of cacao, there's some fruitiness, there's a little orange, there's some oud, there's sandalwood, and the whole thing comes together in such a unique way. I've not smelled anything like Pardon. I've smelled, well, let me just say, Lidge is supposedly from Guerlain similar. I think this is a completely dirtier, skankier, more exciting fragrance. I just think it raised the bar when Pardon came out for date night fragrances, because it is still my number one. There's a couple I really like to wear on a date night, but Pardon is still my number one for that. It's beautiful, it's sexy, it's alluring. It is masculine, but it's androgynous, so you know it will smell great on a woman. Pardon is just pure class. I absolutely adore this one. It's so sophisticated with that little bit of a dirty edge from that kind of oudy note that's hidden in the base. So yeah, you're sophisticated, you're smart, but that little bit of skankiness means you're up for anything. And Pardon is beautiful, really good performance, like all of them, and it lasts and lasts and lasts. So highly recommended, especially if you want a really sophisticated smelling fragrance. Right, next up we have the most famous of them all, Black Afgano. Not a lot to point me talking about this one too much. I love that cap. Charred wood, it's beautiful. This is dark, this is sweet, it's smoky, there's that hint of hashish, not weed, but hashish. If you've ever smelt hashish, you will know where it's coming from. There's a green note in here, there's some coffee. The whole thing is deep and it's exciting, it's exotic, it's really mysterious. I love this fragrance. I don't wear it enough, probably because if I want that kind of smoky darkness, then I tend to go for Teroni. But as you can see, I've hammered this. This again is not my first bottle. So it's still a fantastic fragrance and a really, really interesting one to wear. Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, now we get into one that has recently been discontinued, and this is China White. So this is one that was really, really loved by the house as well. So I'm not quite sure what's happened and why it's been discontinued. Maybe it was too expensive to make, or I'm not sure why it got the cut. China White is this kind of powdery, floral, potent, feminine-leaning fragrance that I absolutely adore. Another one a bit like Silver Musk, where you think, oh, hang on a minute, this might be quite a simplistic fragrance, but it's not. There's a lot going on there. There's lots of modern aroma chemicals in this to make this really, really gorgeous fragrance. And I think Alessandro has said that he was going through a bit of a tough time when he made China White, and he found it to be quite a therapeutic fragrance to make because there are so many layers to it. There's so much going on. So I love it. I have a backup hidden away because obviously I still want to wear it, but it has been discontinued. So if you can find stock of it anywhere, grab it. A few retailers will still have boxes, I'm sure. eBay, be careful of, because there are an awful lot of fake Nasomattos on eBay. But if you have a trusted supplier, you know, a trusted seller, or someone you've used before, and they have a bottle of China White, then grab it, because it's going to become more and more difficult to find. It's a very popular fragrance, so you can imagine that prices are going to go through the roof, as they have with a couple of the others. But China White is gorgeous. It is feminine leaning, but I think it's stunning, and I'm really sad that it's been discontinued. But you know, obviously there was stuff going on that I know nothing about. The brand had to make that difficult decision to finish with it, which is a real shame because it is a stunning perfume. Okay, next up we have Absinth. There's not a lot to say about Absinth apart from the fact it smells like absinthe. It's boozy, but not in the same way as Baraonda. I can get away with this one at work because it smells of that sort of wormwoody, vetiver, woodsy sweetness to it. Beautiful stuff, really good performance as well, like all of them, but this one really, really lasts. Absinth is an underrated gem, I would describe this as. If you like sweet, green, punchy, spicy perfumes, you will love this. And it's not like a fougere, it's not like an old classic style of fragrance. This is completely unique. It has that wonderful blend of vetiver just being right. You know, it's just, it's a stunning frag. Absolutely adore this one. Okay, now we're getting on to Nudiflorum. Second bottle of Nudiflorum. Look how much I've taken out of that already. This is probably tying with Fantomas as most worn. Love it. This is effectively a floral leather. It has a second skin-like vibe to it. So when you're wearing it, the performance is astronomical. This is probably the strongest of the Nasomattos in terms of projection and sillage. It's really, really potent. It does at times kind of feel a little bit like a rose oud, but there is a full review of it. So if you're looking for something a bit different, something floral, something leathery, something a little bit smoky, well, I wouldn't say smoky, I'd say more dusty. It has such a potency to it, but once, after about 4 or 5 hours, and I mean, we're talking maybe 6 hours, it starts to become a second skin. So it has that skin on skin feel, and it's this beautiful musk in the base that is absolutely incredible. And it lasts and lasts and lasts. You know, this is one of those fragrances, if on the rare occasion I'm going out straight from work, so I'm rushing home, getting changed and going out, this is the fragrance I wear because it will last me at work and the evening. Absolutely perfect. It's a banger. Absolute banger. Not one of the most popular Nasomattos, and I don't understand why, because I think it's certainly one of the best, and I absolutely adore it. Okay, so now we're down to the unicorns. And first up, is my favourite patchouli of all time, and that's Hindu grass. Really hard to get hold of now. It's been discontinued for a long time, and I don't know why. I think it was just such an expensive perfume to make. But this is every kind of facet of patchouli you could imagine. It's green, it's dark, it's chocolatey. If you like patchouli, you have to have this. Simple as that. Unfortunately, it's a pig to find. I lucked out. I saw it advertised on a retailer's website. So I put the order through and they had it, and I couldn't believe it. So I rang them and said, look, have you got any more? And they went, no, we didn't even know we had that one until you ordered it. We went to the stores and found it. And it was like, what a stroke of luck. So I paid normal price for this as well. So I bought it for full retail. But these go for a fortune now. You know, these are ridiculously priced. The only thing I've got that smells vaguely similar, and it's not as good as well, I have to say, is Xerjoff do a fragrance called Birdie in the Join the Club collection, which isn't a million miles off. This is much nicer though. But if you want something in that world and you can't find Hindu grass, then have a look at Xerjoff's Birdie, especially if you've got one of the old style bottles. I haven't smelt it recently, but my bottle is vintage. And that's kind of similar, all right? They're not the same. This is much more refined. This is a much nicer perfume, but Birdie will give you a little bit of that kind of feel. But Hindu grass, just a patchouli lover's dream, and one I absolutely adore. So that, unfortunately, is incredibly hard to find. If you can find it, grab it. And then finally, the one that you've all probably been waiting for is Nuda. This was discontinued a long time ago, so it only had a relatively short production run. And I understand the reason being for that is just it's such an expensive fragrance to make. And I think a few of the materials that are used in Nuda are now sort of not IFRA compliant, so they can't remake it. So it is gone for good. But this is my ultimate jasmine fragrance. I think this is incredible. It's slightly indolic, it's pure, it's just, it's to die for. I don't get to wear it very often, in all honesty, because it's so bloody rare. You know, the price these are going for now is just insane. But it's clean, it's dirty, it's fresh, it's floral, it's punchy, the performance is astronomical. It's so good. It has a real vintage vibe to it, whereas all the others kind of have that modern feel. But I think because Gaultieri likes to look back, he likes to look at the history of things to be inspired, to craft his skill, to work his art. So he's very much aware of the history of perfume, of historical fragrances. And this, to me, has much more of a vintage feel to it. I mean, that jasmine in there is amazing. It's almost fruity at one point. It's just so bloody good. And a very dear friend of mine, Gorgeous George, he had this and he knew I was after it, and he very, very kindly let me have it for what he paid for it. I mean, what a gentleman, especially when you look at the prices these are going for at the moment. But be aware, there's lots of fake Nasomattos out there. Also, don't be afraid of looking at the bottle, because these are really old Nasomattos, so there's nothing on the bottom of them, all right? So the first time that they kind of went out, they didn't have anything on the base, whereas if you look at the more modern ones, they've got Nasomatto stamped in the glass. So if you're looking at sort of first generation or really older bottles of any of the Nasomattos, they won't have anything on there. But you will be able to tell, because when you look at the fakes, the glass bleeds, all right? So quite often the glass isn't particularly square. They have sprayers that are far too long, whereas everything in the Nasomatto bottle is perfectly proportioned. It's all beautifully done. So be aware, unfortunately, there are a lot of fake Nasomattos on eBay. So again, as I said earlier, only ever go to one of your trusted buyers, or someone that you know personally that you trust to get anything like that. Well, that goes for everything, to be honest, not just Nasomatto. But there you have it. That's every single Nasomatto that's ever been made. I think the house is fantastic. Obviously, I love Gaultieri, I love Auto Parisi, and I love the Maria Lux collection. If you've got any questions about any of these, then please hit me up on Instagram. And if you're not following us on Instagram, please do, because I will post a daily update. There's a fragrance of the day review every single morning before I go to work, or whatever I do, I post every day. So you've always got something to look at. But I hope you've enjoyed this quick tour of my Nasomatto collection. If you've got any, please let me know which your favourites. Tell me which ones you love. Don't tell me which ones you hate. I really don't care. Why would I want to know that? Just talk about the positives. That's my new mantra in life. Everything is positive. And on that super cheery, somewhat hippie note, I will bid you adieu. So see you later. Take care, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers. Thanks, Sam. Bye.